David Hammer is also part of our Down the Drain team, and he's joining us now in the studio with the latest on the Sewerage and Water Board. We just heard them basically say a whole lot of nothing on Twitter.
Well, Karen and Katie, I just heard from Rich Rainey, who's the spokesperson for the Sewerage and Water Board, and he says that I actually asked specifically about what we heard from Kurt Weigel from the DDD, Downtown Development District, earlier when he was talking to Paul Murphy. And Rich Rainey says that they agree that this needs more research and that they're very concerned about this. He said that they're going to take an all hands on deck approach to get to the bottom of it, and they agree that this, what we've witnessed in recent months, is in need of a thorough investigation. So they recognize that there's an issue here, that this is not the normal from years ago, that there's something new going on here. And as Katie mentioned earlier, we're expecting this report next month that specifically looks at the effects of the SEWA project that they've promised as a result of Mayor Cantrell's calls for looking into that. So there's a lot of things at play here, but now for the first time we're hearing that the Sewerage and Water Board is especially concerned about what we're seeing.
It's nice to hear the acknowledgement.
Right, absolutely.
Right? People have been saying this for a while. This is not normal, and they agree.
Well, and I mean, I think I referenced the Kurt Weigel interview with Paul Murphy earlier because that was somebody who's a high-ranking official that represents that downtown area and all of the businesses and stakeholders in the downtown New Orleans area saying, hey, enough is enough. We need answers.
I mean, I mentioned that somebody had reached out to me after the last series of floods and said, you know, we live in the CBD, we own property in the CBD, we keep getting flooded, and we bought our own signs to put up around saying it's a no-wake zone. I mean, what does that tell you about the concern?
Right, and you actually got that video, I believe that was in July, if I remember correctly, where there was actually the water shooting out at a high rate of speed from a manhole. So, you know, this is something that has reached a new level. It raises concerns about the fact that they have done very specific things to improve backup power. They've done things to address the pumps since the August 5th, 2017 issue and our investigation. But then now we're seeing new issues creep up.
So what are the outstanding questions?
Well, one of them that I have, at least in terms of why we didn't really see this situation with the car coming, is how much did we spend on that Veolia report that was done in 2017 that was an in-depth analysis of all of these, you know, contributing factors to the drainage system. I mean, I think we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on that report, and it said certain things about the capacity of those canals and stuff, but you know, why didn't we see this coming?
Right, and it also talked about the percentage clogged of each of those culverts, of each of those underground systems, but the thing that Cantrell has said repeatedly is that we still don't know what the situation is with the laterals. And I think the fact that that gentleman, Frank, I believe his name was, that Paul spoke to, went right to that. He said, we know that there's some of these things, you know, these smaller pipes less than 30 inches that are under, that carry from the catch basins to the canals that then go to the pump stations, that not only are not doing the job or are clogged, but are broken, that are just leading to nothing.
But we don't know the extent of that problem.
Exactly,
correct?
and that's the thing that we still don't have a clear picture on. In spite of the Veolia report and these other analyses, we still don't have a clear picture of what's going on underground.
They did 3 or 4 investigative reports in 2017 during that emergency, whenever we had, you know, the former mayor declaring an emergency, spending millions of dollars to try and figure out what the problem is and to try and get at it. But apparently, it didn't. So
how do you prioritize, or how is the Sewage and Water Board prioritizing getting this information? What are they looking for first? What is Rich Rainey telling you on the phone? What's next? And we can't keep doing this every time it rains.
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, I think the big issue is this report, because if the mayor has a sense, she wouldn't just be saying idly that there's some kind of unintended consequence of these major projects, that the idea there was that it was not only going to take the water out faster, but it was also going to be able to store water, water management issues, not just pumping our way out of the problem, but being able to retain water so that we can do this better. And the fact that she says that that might have unintended consequences on other sections of the city is something that we need to get at right away.
And whose responsibility to fix it?
Right. Well, it
'Cause it was a
depends
core
on how big the
project.
pipe is.
Oh,
Oh, the core project, that, the SELA, yes.
Right,
There's
core
a core project,
project,
so then we're
then we
waiting.
have, and we have too many people responsible for different aspects of this. We have power with Entergy and the city and the Sewerage and Water Board, and then we also have DPW, which is a section of City Hall, and then we have an independent, semi-independent Sewerage and Water Board. Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Right, which, there was supposed to be a whole study of that as well, and whether or not that needed to change, and we haven't seen any significant reforms in terms of bringing them all under one umbrella at this point.
And let me remind people as well, there's over $1 billion in Katrina recovery money that we got that then got delayed because of problems coordinating between the Sewerage and Water Board and the city, because there were both groups getting it. And then former Mayor Landrieu had a press conference saying, okay, this money is ready to go out. And there's been a very small trickle over the last several years of spending that money to try to coordinate not only street repairs, but also under-street repairs with the drainage system.
Would there be a way to speed up the flow of the money so that we can address the multitude of issues that you hear you talking about? I mean,
Well,
is there-
when Cantrell took office, there were specific things in the transition plan to address that, and we'll have to keep up, check back on that and get more specifics.
All right.
In the meantime, it's a mess uptown. It's flooded in large parts of the city, so we just want to remind everyone who's just tuning in that it's a mess if you're trying to get anywhere uptown New Orleans right now. And the drainage system, and what we've been talking about here with David, is the fact that the Sewerage and Water Board is desperately trying to get that water out. But as we've seen from live pictures of the Palmetto Canal in particular, it seems like the system is at capacity at this point.